Hello and welcome back to VMTV Vaults. Myself, Kyle Dimond. My guest for this episode is Miss Michelle Montague, who will be competing in the PFL Challenger Series this January as one of the top prospects in the tournament. She's a former IMMAF champion, so you know that her amateur credibility is absolutely incredible, and she's looked very impressive in her professional fights so far. We spoke about her journey through IMMAF, among several other things, like how she got into MMA and also training with Kayla Harrison at American Top Team. Without further ado, Michelle Montague. I wanted to start by pulling something up when I was doing some research earlier and watching some of your old fights.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about getting to interview either people from the UK or like people like yourself from New Zealand is watching American people try and work out the slang and getting
Yeah.
confused. Like for example, I was watching the fight you had on Icon, and as you're making the walk, they're on about how you had said that you and Kayla Harrison have been getting on like a house on fire, and none of them could work out what that meant, like whether that was
Oh
good
fuck.
or
I
bad.
haven't even heard that commentary, so I didn't actually know that they were talking about that.
I didn't even know that that was the thing people didn't understand. I thought that was general, but
Yeah. Yeah, like a house on fire goes quite well. Gets on all right.
yeah. Has that ever gotten you into trouble whilst you've been training out in America, where people have kind of got confused about what you meant?
It actually hasn't this time around. But when I was younger and I was working at Disney World at lifeguarding, Kiwis always say "sweet as in like yes, sweet as," and you'd say it at the pools, and like parents and kids would be like thinking you're saying talking about their ass or their ass. So that used to get me in a bit of trouble, to be honest with you. Um, that's about it though. That's the only thing that like they're like, huh?
That is the thing I stumbled across actually earlier, is your time working at Disney World. How how
Yeah.
how was that? Because my perception has always been I can't be that lively and positive for that long. But you were a lifeguard, right?
Yeah, so I didn't have to be Mary John all the time. My job was literally to make sure no one drowned or no one came close to drowning. So it didn't matter if I was like smiling or miserable, didn't even matter. I just had to be able to do my job, which perfect for me because like I'd rather a physical job anyway there. But I did one day, I think it was a Thanksgiving day. I worked at like Magic Kingdom, and it was absolutely shit. I had to wear this funky costume. I had to like the whole time, and I was like not having it that
No, no, that sounds like my idea of hell, but fair enough to you. Right, let's go back to the start of your MMA journey at least. I'd seen that you had been inspired by seeing a clip of Ronda Rousey, which I feel like, I'd speak to fighters and that is starting to become more of a thing, specifically
Yeah,
Ronda as well. What was
yeah,
like your next steps after seeing that? Because you were already doing rugby, right, at the time.
yeah. So I literally just Googled MMA gym near me, and there was one that popped up, which is about a 50-minute drive from my little town. And then I contacted the owner, who's still now my main coach to this day, and he just said, "Yep, come along." I said, "I haven't got anything." He's like, "Bring some gloves, but if you don't have any, it's all good. Just show up." So I showed up, and then I would literally go from rugby training to the MMA gym like the same night, and yeah, just learned jiu-jitsu, learned kickboxing, MMA, wrestling, like learned all the things you could imagine in like the first kind of like, week, just like got a taste of everything. Even like had like I just even thought like weird thoughts about some of the stuff I was seeing, and this didn't make sense to me. It was completely foreign. And then I think within 5 weeks, like I had that first fight, and yeah, just kept going from there.
Yeah, one of the things that through doing research, I was like, I think it might have been on, I can't remember what website it was on, but it listed your like accomplishments, all of the tournaments you've competed in, and I was like, wow, that is a lot that seems like is going on at once. And I mean, you saying then about how
Yeah,
you were doing rugby and the martial arts training at the same time isn't
yeah,
surprising. Like when I was looking through and watching your fights, like your recent pro fights, and then to find out that you also competed in the Commonwealth Games in
yeah.
Birmingham, which is about a 50-minute drive from where I am. I was like, that
Oh no way.
how does that even, how are you able, let's just break it down to that alone. How were you able to compete in the Commonwealth Wrestling Games whilst still still being active as a pro in MMA?
Well, I had the fight in March, right, and then I knew I had nothing else booked until, you know, until at least after that. And once I knew that was the case, I made sure to compete at the US Open over here. So I had a qualifying tournament up my sleeve, and then I just made sure to do everything that was required of me. So if it came to it, I was eligible to go, and that's exactly what happened. I was eligible to go, so went over there, did that, and then came back, and I think I did Jiu-Jitsu Worlds maybe like a month and a half before that too. So it was pretty awesome, like 6 months that I'd had after that fight.
Yeah, like again with the whole strength of schedule thing, the fight on Icon. Am I right in thinking that you, because you were supposed to have a PFL fight that got cancelled, right?
Yeah,
And
two.
then
The girl pulled out 2 times after
and
it
that
was confirmed.
it's so cool that they were okay with you taking a fight outside of the PFL to stay active, because
I know.
it's not a thing that happens very often.
No, yeah, Greg Savage was down at the gym down here, and Mazara had already hit me up, being like, "Oh, hey, like, do you want us to get your fight or something?" Like, because he's probably noticed that I hadn't had one in a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, no, no, I'm meant to have one coming up really soon." Anyway, the girl pulled out, and then I asked him again, and Greg happened to be at the gym one day, and he does all the matchmaking for the PFL, and I said, "Hey, look, is it all good if I do da da da?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we know him. That's fine, da da da." And so it just worked out fucking perfectly. They even said it was cool to do like one more with them beforehand, before I had this fight in March, in February, and I just couldn't get an opponent for that one in time. So yeah, I'm glad I got that one in with Icon.
Yeah. You mentioned then about just having people like Masvidal around the gym, obviously training at ATT. To go back to the quote originally from your walkout Icon about you and Kayla getting on like a house on fire.
Yeah,
How was that to just step onto the mat with someone like Kayla, who especially like now it's even more significant with you going into the PFL, that like
yeah,
she's the star. So getting to train with her must be invaluable for you.
yeah. Obviously, we grew like from the moment we start MMA. New Zealand's so small; we're always on the mat with like quote unquote stars. So
Mm.
for us, it's just regular people with amazing accomplishments. So the main thing was just like I had never been outclassed so decisively, like in on the ground by someone like in the MMA. So I was just like, holy shit, this girl was like insanely good. And to this day still is. So yeah, for me, being able to learn from someone that is like really puts me in my place on the ground is so that's invaluable, mate. And to have her in my corner for this next fight as well, just like the first PFL one again, it's just like reinstills that confidence. You know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, like as I said about going through that website that listed all of the stuff that you've already
Yeah,
accomplished. The thing that will jump out to most people, which I believe is the thing that the PFL put up next to your announcement that you would be competing in the Challenger Series, was the winning the IMMAF tournament, which is
yeah,
obviously such a big pedigree now for fighters coming through
yeah,
to win that tournament. Like when you look at
absolutely.
who's been announced for the Challenger Series, someone who's competed in IMMAF is going to stand out. How much
Yeah,
has that tournament helped with, I would imagine, every aspect of your career, like from staying active because the scheduling is pretty ruthless, to obviously
yeah,
the level.
yeah. No, you absolutely hit the nail on the head there. Like the way that that prepares you is wicked. The I think one of the big ones too is like you walk out into most amateur fights and it's a pretty small setup, but you walk out at the amateur world champs and it is just a crazy amount of like showmanship that they put on like for the event. So that's a good thing to get used to, like a big crowd, a big crazy entrance and all that there. And then obviously to fight if you go to one of the tournaments, you could fight up to 4 times in 1 week. But if you like I did, you do like 3 in a year. Oceania is the Europeans, the world champs. So you get like 12 fights in one fucking year. Granted, they're just amateur, but you're still making weight every day of that tournament and you're staying busy throughout the whole year. So for something like the PFL where they have the tournament season like that there, it really, really mirrors that and from an amateur to pro level quite nicely. And I think probably the best out of any of the organizations.
Yeah, I would imagine to kind of talk about your fight on the Challenger Series against Shaquita Woods. I did a bit of research on her earlier, and it's very difficult to find anything on her because it's her pro debut when you fight
Yeah,
her. I would
yeah.
imagine that IMMAF. Oh, sorry,
She
you
was
go.
meant to have she was meant to have a pro fight against actually one of the other Challenger Series girls from last year, but the girl pulled out like the day of or something.
Mm.
So that was meant to be her pro fight. So she's been ready for a while now. But yeah, so go on.
I would imagine that the IMAF format is great for preparing you for scenarios like this where you
Yeah,
can't really train for a specific opponent. You just have to
yeah,
focus on yourself.
yeah, 100%. And also, we've all got to keep in mind for ourselves that maybe us with the bigger opponents, that like if they don't make weight, we'll be fighting the alternative fighter, and we don't even know who that is. So, you do just have to be focusing on what you do best, and then to hone in on that because, fuck, like you can't find shit on your opponent, and then if they don't make weight, you're fighting someone else anyway because they'll replace them. It's not like the fight will be cancelled. So, yeah, there's a lot to keep in mind with that setup.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. That's everything that I had to ask. So, uh,
Beautiful.
no problem. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll catch back up with you soon.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate your time. I'll see you later, eh?
No worries. All the best. Cheers.